Hey everyone, it's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into tonight's games, our college games. We don't have a ton of college games, and we have a decent bit of NBA games. So I'm going to go into them. The first one here, we're only playing three college, and I usually play metrics. So by metrics, if you have followed my channel for even a little bit, you know. For example, I'm picking Howard to cover Maryland ES here, simply because Howard is very, very. It's not that they're really bad against the spread; they're not great against the spread. And Maryland ES has been doing very well against the spread. So when you have a team that has been great against the spread and a team that's been doing well, it works for two reasons usually. One, the public is more likely to fade that team that has not been doing well, and two, again, these always balance out, it seems, over time. You don't have teams finish above 80, under 20 on the spread. It's just, you always have them kind of always seem to balance out. So this one, Texas Southern, who is a I want to say bottom 10 team on the spread, I think they're around 29%, is playing Southern, who's around 71%. So from an absolute value standpoint, they're about the same exact number regarding away from being 0% or 100%. So they're both right in that range. So since both teams now it's not just that Southern is playing really good against the spread. Texas Southern's playing bad against the spread. That's what makes me like that as a leg two. Okay. If it was just a good team against the spread, but the other team was average, that's a leg one. But when one team's not good and one team is good, I've noticed the public's more likely to take the better team. There's professional handicappers out there, and their literal basis for taking teams is they're good against the spread. It still baffles me. So this one here we're taking because of, I think it's a trap. So again, I have not looked into many lines and stuff like that. I've looked into lines, but I haven't looked into the teams and the stats and if the games make sense until I saw this one. North Carolina is playing Miami. Miami's ranked 15th. North Carolina is from what I can tell, an inferior team on paper from the games they've played consistency-wise. Yet they're a 5.5 point favorite in this game, North Carolina. So there's a lot of reasons that could be, but I don't trust these PSPN prediction things compared to the lines. I think, again, this is just so people put money on. I could be wrong. I haven't followed college crazy. Like I said, I don't know these guys' names. But I do know traps, and this just seems like one. And UNC happens to be not so good against the spread, playing a team that is pretty good against the spread. Like I've said 100 times, it doesn't mean I'm always going to be right, but more often than not, especially a team that's, UNC, teams that people, not these bottom teams like, you'll have teams like LIU sometimes finish like low against the spread, Queens College, stuff like that. But UNC is typically not going to. Furthermore, they're playing Miami, who I would imagine people see this, they're probably going to like Miami with the 5.5. And they're probably going to like them with the money line. So I think this one could be a blowout for UNC. And again, I don't know that much about this crap, but I do know that it seems it's not much different than the other college sports. So I don't know why they wouldn't give UNC a little bit of a run here and get them ranked going into the playoffs. Now, again, that part I don't know too much about at all. I just looked more at the trap here, and it looks like a trap to me. Now, the NBA, also, we're going to be playing a lot of leg twos tonight and over the next couple nights. Leg twos specifically because we don't have, as I was saying, the Chiefs literally, I think, closed our last open leg three. If we have some open leg threes, it's so few. Yeah, and we'll have leg ones, of course, but my goal is to close all the leg one losses. So, you could see we've closed a lot of them, but we still have some. So I scroll back and I just look for the last one we lost. Rockets is a leg two that we lost, so that one would head to a leg three. But it's really all leg twos at this point, and it's more when I get back to like the beginning because we've closed so many. But you'll see when I'm scrolling, you'll see a couple that are leg one losses. So that's what we'll be plugging our leg twos for. Okay, basically, there's a leg Blazers was a leg two, so there's a few. But the goal is, and the reason I'm going over this, it's not to be monotonous. It's to show you guys that this is literally what I do with every pick. You could see it could be tedious, so that's why, with the Discord and everything, I try and get it out there as quick as I can. But right here was a leg one loss. Delaware State covers NC Central. We have about 15 of these rolling through the entire from beginning to end. Called hanging chads, whatever you want to call them. Leg ones that I just never plugged a leg two into. So we had 15 plays, missed this one, moved on. So what I'm doing now is going back and closing all of our leg ones. And again, there's not a lot, but that's what we're going to be doing for the leg twos, okay? We're just going to be plugging them in. It does not matter which leg one it is. I probably should have started it at some point and just done it this way. I kind of, and just hit them okay, go down the list. All right, Raptors, Glurzies, close that out. But with all these plays, it winds up going in like a snake order. But at the end of the day, as I said, it doesn't matter which ones we close, okay? We just need to close leg twos. So looking at these NBA games, Hawks, Hornets, this is an interesting one because, again, you can kind of see both arguments. You call it a trap. 6 points is not the most. But at the same time, I could see this game going for the Hawks because I think they need to start establishing teams. And if the Hawks can't have a good outing against the Hornets, it's really hard to push them as a team that might be able to beat the Bucks, whoever they matched up against in the playoffs. It's hard to push them as a team that might be able to beat the Sixers or even the Nets if they're not, looking much better than 500. I think they're going to have the 500 teams be the 9 and 10 seeds. You'd be the Wizards and, in my opinion, Wizards and Bulls. And I think the Hawks finish a few games above 500, closer to where the Knicks are. So I like the Hawks here, and I'm going to take them to cover. And next we got Spurs, Cavs. I like the Cavs, I got to be honest. I'll tell you why. It's the biggest spread I've seen all year. I have not seen 15 yet. I would know because I would have thought, oh, wow, that's a football score. It's 14 points. And I haven't seen it. I've seen 13 and a half for I think it was the Bucks at home against the Pistons. I've seen a lot of 10s and a half for the Warriors, for the Cavs. I've seen the 10 move to 12. 15 is mind-boggling. It tells me one of two things. Cleveland's either going to win by 50 or they're going to win by 13, and this was some kind of crazy line movement where it started at 10, moved to 15, and but 15 points, I just don't see people taking that, so I like it. I like Cavaliers cover. Both of these leg ones. This one, I absolutely love the Jazz. Again, I don't think the Pacers are I said this back when they had a winning record, so for people saying, oh yeah, and I'm perfectly willing to concede when I made predictions that haven't aged well. I had Portland beating the Nuggets and winning the division, so there's times I'm right, there's times I'm wrong. But I think when it comes to sleeper teams, the reason I've done pretty well is because I watch wrestling. And again, this is all a matter of draws. And just the sad fact is, Russell Westbrook is more of a draw than anybody. Buddy Hield maybe. There's not a lot of draws here on this team. Halliburton, yeah, he plays well. Miles Turner. They're just one of those teams that they got that Benedict guy. But they're one of those teams that, in my opinion, there's nothing that's going to have people outside of Pacers fans, maybe people that root for underdogs, but you have to remember we already have underdogs in this match. It's not like we're going to have underdogs in the playoffs. We're going to have teams like the Wizards getting in. The only difference between a team like the Wizards and a team like the Pacers is the Wizards are considered an underdog, but they have draws, whereas the Pacers don't have any. So, yeah, I like the Jazz to win. Like I said, I like the Jazz in the playoffs ahead of the Kings. I really do. I think they need to tell stories. And getting Russell Westbrook in there with other guys, especially if you got Durant in there and you got Harden on the other side, it tells some stories. So I like the Jazz to cover in this game. It just makes sense to me. And I like this one as a leg one as well. So the first three are all going to be leg ones. And Rockets, Sixers here. This one I like the Rockets. I know I just got done saying a lot of points and all that. The difference being, again, we got the Rockets at home. It's not 15, 16 points, whatever that Spurs one was. And I honestly think the Rockets have one of the worst records in the league against the spread. Sixers doing very well against the spread. So I could see this one being a win, or I'm sorry, a win no cover for the Sixers, where it's probably a lot closer than it should be. Also, it might be a little superstitious, but I have noticed that a lot of games, like so you have Cavs here laying 15, and then there's only two of them. Sixers are laying 13. There's really nothing else after that that's even close to that. The most we have there is Mavs at 7. Well, usually when that happens, they'll split. By split, I mean one will be like a close game, and the other will be a landslide. So I'm just going to hope that, the Cavs are the landslide and the Rockets are the close game. So yeah, that's the reason despite it being also a lot of points, I think people believe the Sixers are a much better team than the Cavs. I could be wrong, but I think people are looking at the players. They're not looking at the records. So same thing with the Warriors. So I do like that's going to be, again, all the 7 o'clock games we're going to make leg ones, okay? So, and that's going to be, again, Hawks cover, Cavs cover, Jazz cover, and Rockets cover. We'll see how that works out, because typically, obviously, I lean more home teams. Not even because they're home teams, just because they seem to be getting better spreads. But I like these teams. I like these away teams. Now, our first leg, too, is going to be this game. I like the Heat to cover. The reason being, again, it's not even because they're terrible against the spread. That's fine. They're within historical norms. But it's also the fact that I don't understand this 1.5. They're almost favorites. And I was wrong when I had the Magic beating them, because they had Magic as like a 1-point underdog, or maybe even 1-point favorite. Made no sense. And the Heat did win that game, so it wasn't a trap like I thought. But this is on NBA TV. It's going to have much more public money. And again, Vegas always has an ulterior motive, so Heat didn't look so great. They just eked out a win over the Magic. I don't see too many people picking them here to beat the Nuggets. I could actually see this being a game where they silently rest Joker. But yeah, I like the Heat here to cover, and that's going to be a leg 2. So I like the Heat as a leg 2, and here I like the Nets. I'm sorry, I like the Knicks as a leg 2. The reason being, we do have the Nets now with their team, Bridges. They got everyone. So, this is where I honestly think they could go on a nice run, because of all the teams. They need to explain to people why the Nets aren't complete idiots. They need to explain to people why the Nets won this trade, why Dinwiddie is that good, why Dorian Finney-Smith is that good, which makes this trade even more laughable, because when they got Bridges, it basically assured Finney-Smith, who was the vocal part of this trade, the focal point of this trade, it just assured that he's going to be a bench player. And what makes that hilarious is the only other person they traded for was Dinwiddie, who they had and released or did a sign and trade with. So I find it just to show you how dumb these people are. They could have landed Brunson in a trade by trading Dinwiddie a year ago. And they would have Brunson without having, they'd still have to pay the man, but they'd have Brunson, and they wouldn't have had to negotiate others if this is what really happens. And it just, to me, it makes no sense at all. The Nets could have landed Brunson, and instead they're stuck with Ben Simmons and all these role players now. And I just don't think it's a coincidence. I think this is maybe a pretty clear way of them telling us the Nets are not the team in New York anymore. They're not going to be, well, I guess they weren't in New York very long, huh? But it seems like, they're going to make the role players look good. There's no way Bridges and them can look bad, because people are so mad at the trade. It has to look like the Nets won. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Simmons starts playing good. I'm serious. I would not be surprised if he starts playing good, or whoever they put at point guard, Patty Mills, and then they'll have the one. I don't think they're going to build around Bridges. He does remind me of Kawhi a little bit, as far as he started his career as a role player, great defender, two-way player. Then he transitioned more into the offense. So he reminds me of Kawhi in that regard, but I don't think he's marketable. So I think they're going to make these guys look okay, but I like the Knicks here. I think people are going to be all over a healthy Nets team that just got all these guys. Yeah, they lost Durant, but they still got talent. And the Knicks aren't exactly the most stacked team. So I think people will be taking the Nets. I like the Knicks as a leg 2. And then we got Magic Bulls here. And this one I'm actually going to go with the Magic to cover, because I think they need to keep them at the heels of these other teams. And right now the Magic are quite a bit behind. So that's also a reason I had the Pacers losing. I think these teams have to stay pretty close to each other. That's why on a lot of times when I have the Bulls losing, I have the Pacers losing. Or when I have the Wizards or Bulls winning, I have the Pacers winning too. Because I just feel like they're kind of going to be indicative of each other. So I do like the Magic here to cover the 4.5 because I think there's a chance they could outright win the game. And that's also going to be a leg too. So as is the next one, okay? So we're going to have, to make it simple, the first 4 games, they are all leg ones. Hawks cover, Cavs cover, Jazz cover, and Rockets cover. And then our leg twos are going to be Heat cover, Knicks cover, Magic cover, and I like the Thunder cover as a leg two. Again, the Thunder, I think they have to be as a play-in. I think they have to be in there. People laughed at me now. I did have the Kings dropping out, so I mean I'm not saying I called it perfect, but I don't think many people had the Thunder in the playoffs play-in either. And I still think it's going to be them and the Blazers. I do. I don't think they're going to boot the Pelicans out. But going down the road, I see teams like Warriors, Wolves, Pelicans, these teams that are right around 500, I see them going on spurts. Whereas the Thunder, that's harder to explain away. And they're probably going to be a few games below 500. So games like this, I think you have to have the Thunder win. It also, again, it makes it believable that they would actually have a chance if they did make a play-in. So I like the Thunder here as a leg two. And again, there's so we got 4 leg twos and 4 leg ones. The leg twos are essentially the 7:30 and on games, okay, up to 8 o'clock. And then we're going to do Mavericks. This one here, I do like this one as a leg two. Again, Dallas sucks against the spread, and this will be interesting. Because again, people might be pounding them because I think Luka's back there at home. Of course, Kyrie, Luka. But don't forget, it's not like the Wolves have no players. You know, Edwards has been doing very good. They got Gobert. I think Cat might be returning pretty soon. I don't think he's back yet. But they got role players. They got guys. It's not like they're a bad team. We just saw them smoke the Nuggets without D'Angelo Russell. So you could argue people are probably going to be slant. I swear, 232 is always the spread with the Mavericks. Maybe I guess, like, you know how the Warriors, their numbers pie. We see that all the time. With these guys, we always see 2-3-2. Anyway, yeah, I like the Mavericks to cover the 7. I think this will be an example of when they kind of show how they're unstoppable. You know, last game, or I think it was 2 they played, they played good, but Kyrie looked better than Luka, and there wasn't anything like, wow, these guys are going to be unstoppable. I think this game would be a good game for that, and the Wolves have a record where they can afford a loss here. So I like the Mavericks, and again, that's also a leg too. For our late games, here I absolutely love the Wizards. I do. I think they can make the Wizards look good by beating the Warriors at home, or at least keeping it close and covering. And from a matchup standpoint, with Porzingis, honestly, the Wizards should have a pretty big advantage anyway. So it's one they can explain away. I can't imagine the public liking the Wizards only getting 4 on the road. And like I said, I think the Wizards are a play-in team. So I think they have to stay there. Again, Golden State's going to go on a run. You know, they're going to be fine. The Wizards, I don't see them going on a 12-game winning streak. So that's why these type of games, I think the Wizards have to win. Now, I'm going to go into these games, both of these games, and explain what I'm going to do with them. Basically, Wizards is going to be a leg 3. Okay. Now, I don't know what it's going to be a leg 3 for yet, but since we have a bunch of leg 2s in action, let's just say the Knicks starts looking like it's headed south. I'm going to leg 3 the Wizards to cover. Let's say the Heat looks like it's heading south. By the time the game tips off, I'm going to know, and I'm going to make the Wizards a leg 3. So I just wanted to show people that because that's what I do. You know, that's exactly. I just wait until you could lock it now, but you never know. I've done it before, and believe it or not, hit all my leg 2s, and it doesn't throw things off that much, but I like to keep it consistent. So yeah, if one of these or 2 of these looks like they're not doing so well, you can lock the Wizards as a leg 3. That's just what I'm going to do. So it's going to be a leg 3. I'm just waiting to see how our games go, because obviously if we don't need a leg 3, that's even better. Here we got the Lakers, Blazers, and this is a tough one because, again, I think the Blazers are going to get in, not the Lakers. That being said, I also think here it's interesting because, again, Lakers win and they're all kind of like tied, right? They're all kind of at the same record. But I think the Blazers. I think people are going to expect the Lakers to win. Again, they just made the trade for Russell. I always say they win games they should lose, and they lose games they should win. So they just won in Golden State. I think, we won because of it. We had them winning. We had Milwaukee beating them and covering. Again, nothing crazy, just stuff that I knew the public was going to take the Lakers +8. I think it was 8.5 even with Milwaukee. Golden State, I knew nobody was going to take the Lakers. So this game, I feel like people are going to be mad at the Lakers. And more people, just because, they did lose to Golden State. They beat Golden State. They lost to Milwaukee. Milwaukee is not a crappy team, and they have Russell now. I don't see people not taking the Lakers in this game. So this one, I really like the Blazers to win this game. I'm going to make it a leg 2. We could make it a leg 3, like I said. What I'll do, actually, I'm going to do the exact same thing with this game that I did with the Wizards, okay? So these will be our leg 3s. And it's pretty simple. So like I said, let's just say we hit them all and we miss, Heat, Knicks, and Bulls. They all lose. Or Magic, because we have the Magic covering. So the Heat, Knicks, and Magic, none of them cover. Well, that's when the Wizards and Lakers get plugged in as leg 3s. So by 10 o'clock, we should definitely know what's going on with the Magic. If it's too close still, again, we have 3 other leg 3s in play. Between the Thunder, between the Heat, between the Knicks. We'll know what's going on. So I want to hit everything and hit every leg just so everyone has an idea. And again, I'll make it as simple as possible. Leg 1, this will be a recap. If you've already seen it, you're good. You can tune out. But for someone that wants to recap to make sure we got them all right, leg 1, Hawks cover Hornets, Cavaliers cover Spurs, Jazz cover Pacers, and Rockets cover Sixers. Then for leg 2, I do like the Heat cover Nuggets, Knicks cover Nets, Magic cover Bulls, and Thunder cover Pels. And then I also like the Mavericks cover T-Wolves. And then as leg 3s, for any leg 2s that lose, I like the Wizards cover Warriors and the Blazers cover Lakers. So those are all of our plays. Again, I think we do really well. Not for any crazy reason, just because we're playing a lot of games and we usually do better the more games we play, because it's really more about breaking even with the system, as I'm sure you know. As long as we break even on our splits, then we actually profit. And right now we're at 76 units. That Super Bowl gave us an extra unit. Well, it was actually 4 units, but it was a 3-game sequence, so we got it on leg 3. So we wound up getting that one. So yeah, like I said, for all these games, all these leg 1s, Bears cover Lions, these hanging Chads, Knicks cover Spurs from a while ago. Any of these leg 1s, if you're tailing me and doing exactly what I'm doing, then yeah, just plug in the leg 2s for any of those. And that's what we're doing. We're closing out here we got Chiefs beat Eagles. That was last night. Again, we didn't get much plus odds, but we got some plus odds there. And I just think we're going to do good because, again, we have officially closed every leg 3, maybe outside of 1 or 2. Which, if you're not sure what that means really, I suggest you watch some other videos in the playlist, specifically the one where I go over my system. But if you do know what that means, that's good. It basically means we've closed every sequence, and we have a very small handful that I'm closing now. That's why we have so many leg 2s tonight, and we do have a couple leg 3s that are more contingent on these leg 2s. So again, nothing crazy, nothing fancy, just my basic picks. I will be going into hockey. It's been requested, and honestly, if we can hit 70% of college basketball, simply picking metrics, I think we could do the same with hockey. I don't know anything about these basketball players in college, so I don't see why hockey would be much different. I think if I stick to the metrics, it really doesn't matter which sport we do. So, yeah, we're going to play every NBA game tonight. We have those 3 college plays. I think we have a good night. I'll be going into the Super Bowl more. I want to hear the coverage. From what I hear, people are acting like it is, that holding call, that's basically the only thing being talked about. Not Hurts purposely turning the ball over. Not Mahomes defying gravity and running perfectly on a sprained ankle. None of that stuff, but people are really honing in on that one penalty. So we'll have to see. We have some people that don't even talk about sports are putting out, big channels are talking about it because it's so obvious. So many people are bringing it up. So I'll go into that, but I wanted to get all of our picks out there most importantly. So take care, everybody, and happy earnings.